Hello, a very warm welcome along to Sportsbet TV and our racing tipping service. This is Paul Alster here with you once again. I'm looking forward to the racing scheduled in Britain and Ireland on Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th of January. Now I've got 3 selections for you across the weekend and also one ANTE-POST tip to put into our file for the Cheltenham Festival, which is getting ever closer. First of all, before I go any further, I know those of you that follow regularly will have heard this before, but do press the subscribe button just below this screen if you haven't already done so, and press the bell icon so that you're kept in touch with all new bulletins. And don't forget to spread the word and share this bulletin with friends and family and anybody else that's interested in looking for value bets, which is what I'm all about, because as you may well know, I'm not in the business of tipping short-priced horses. I'm looking for decent value, normally, very often, double-figure prices. That means that there are going to be blank days, but there are also going to be days where we hit big, as we have had a number of times over the last few months. Indeed, since we started the service in July, I can tell you that the first 6 months, from July to the end of December, we showed a profit to level stakes of £10 on a win or £10 each way on our recommended each way bets. Our level profits was £718 to the recommended £10 stakes, whilst in the quarter from October to December it was £888.75 profit. Now we're already nicely ahead in the month of January, thanks mainly to the 20-to-1 winner we had earlier on in the month with See You at Midnight. Now, one of last week's selections, well, there were 4. The first of them, Miss Cloher, 33-to-1 she was each way. She finished 4th. Couldn't quite get into the frame. We always knew she had 3 good horses to beat, but she ran pretty well there for Sam Curling. Shut the Gate, who ran at Market Raisin, well, a lot of horses were non-runners in that race because the ground there was terrible and he didn't really cope with it. He eventually finished 4th at 16-to-1, but I expect he's better than that, but I'll be waiting for him to run on a better surface. Now, the near miss for us last Saturday was at Warwick in that really good staying handicap hurdle. Mint Condition, the Jenny Candlish trained runner, recommended 8-to-1 each way. I was sure he was going to get up in the last 100 yards, but he just couldn't quite get by the front runner, and in the end he failed by a neck. He'd just been slightly not stopped in his run, but he had to wait for a run between the final 2 flights, and that might well have been the difference between victory and defeat. Such is life. But when you put into perspective with what happened with our 4th selection, you really can't take things too seriously, because we recommended the Skelton's Ardlethan in the race later on at 3:35 at Warwick last Saturday. He was running a really good race and was still in with a chance of at least a place when the horse in front of him fell at the last and brought him down. And I'm really sorry to say that he was fatally injured in that fall, and our hearts go out really to Dan Skelton and Harry and the owners of Ardlethan, who's been such a great servant. He went out doing what he loved best, but it was really unfortunate and unfair to see him go out like that in the process of running such a great race. Well, let's hope that all our selections this week come back safely. Now, the first of them is going to be at Taunton. By the way, I haven't recommended anything at Haydock. I did have a good look at the card, but it's subject to a precautionary inspection Saturday morning. The ground there apparently is absolutely terrible. It's heavy, and I just don't think it's a race meeting to be betting at, because I think the ground is so bad you could get some very strange results. So I'm heading first to Taunton and the 2:45 race. Now then, this is a 2-mile 3 furlong handicap hurdle, soft ground, heavy in places. It's a seniors race, although it's for 8-year-olds and upwards, so not quite the old timers we saw at Sandown earlier in the month. And on the early betting, and at the time of this recording, I'm recording it Friday lunchtime for technical reasons, so we only have a little bit of betting to go on, but on the early betting, they're going 7-2 the field with the likes of Gaulter Joe and T-Bolt who have both been in good form, winning a couple of races of late. They're the early 7-2 joint favourites. Now those two horses have been winning Class 3 and Class 4 hurdles respectively, but the horse that really does interest me here is a very smart performer called Brewing Up a Storm. He's trained by Ollie Murphy and is the mount of Aidan Coleman, and he was a high-class hurdler in 2019. He was a close Forster champ in the Grade 1 Challow hurdle. He was then 4th at the Cheltenham Festival in the Grade 1 Ballymore Novices hurdle, and then a close 2nd in the Grade 1 Mersey Novices hurdle at the Aintree Festival, and that was behind Colin Tizard's very smart reserve Tank. Now last season they went chasing with him. He won his first 2 novice chases in pretty good style, but then he unseated rider in his 3rd race. However, that was in the Arkle at the Cheltenham Festival, and he was still right in touch with them when he blundered an unseated rider 4 out. Now he wasn't seen again after that for 8 months, until having 2 starts over fences this season in very hot company. He went for a red-hot listed chase at Carlisle over 2.5 miles in heavy ground, won by Imperial Aura, and he looked in need of the run there, and he wasn't knocked about. But then last time out they upped him to Grade 1 over fences, and he ran in the Tingle Creek chase, won by Politologue. It was less than 2 miles the trip. It was too sharp for him. He finished last of the 5 there, and I think connections have decided that maybe there's still work to be done with him over fences, and they've switched back to hurdles here. And this is a horse, remember, whose last 3 runs have been in Grade 1s over hurdles, and here he is in a Class 2 handicap. Now this is reminiscent of when I tipped you Frodham back in a handicap over fences in October at Cheltenham. I think this is a similar type of scenario, and the trip will be ideal. No problems with the trip. He goes in soft ground. The odd have been in good form. Ollie Murphy was 7 from 38 of late. Now the early price with the only one firm up is William Hills, who are offering 6-1, but I think that people might just overlook what he's done in the past over hurdles and only look at those 2 runs in hot company over fences where he failed to figure, and I just think he might be a better price. So remember to bet with a bookmaker who's going to give you the SP if it's bigger than the price you take. It's so important. It can make such a big difference to your profit and loss at the end of the season. So my first recommendation, Brewing Up a Storm, early price of 6-1 each way, will probably go bigger. That's in the 2:45 race at Taunton. Now our second recommendation on Saturday is at Ascot. It's in the 3 o'clock. This is the 2-mile 5 furlong handicap chase. There are 14 runners, and there are plenty of firms going 4 places, even though very often standard terms is 16 runners for 4 places, but they're all trying to get your business, remember, and look for one that pays 4 places. Now, plenty of firms have been betting on this race because it's a hot contest, and it's 11-2 the field at the time of recording, with amongst the market leaders Good Boy Billy, who was 4th in the Caspian Caviar Gold Cup at Cheltenham last time. We've got Benny's King, who goes so well at this track. He's up £7 for a 6-length win here over 2 miles 3 furlongs last time. There's Dashel Drasher, who won over course and distance last time, but he's gone up £9. And an interesting runner is Espoir de Guy. Now this one is a danger. He's won over the course and distance on his last 2 visits to the track, but in total he's gone up £19, so he's going to have to improve a lot again. Venetia Williams trains him, and as we know, her horses midwinter love the soft ground. But the one I really like here is, funny enough, a gelding with a girl's name. Reminds me a bit of that song of Johnny Cash's, remember, A Boy Named Sue? Well, here we've got a gelding called Acting Lass, and it's trained by Harry Fry and the mount of Sean Bowen. Now this horse won this very race in 2018 off a mark of 143. He then went on to win at Chepstow. In 2019 he won their Welsh Grand National Trial, and he was 2nd at Ascot over 3 miles to Regal Encore off 147. Now Regal Encore, I'm sure many of you know, is a real course and distance specialist, and that was a great effort. He then went on to be pulled up in January 2020 at Haydock in the Peter Marsh Chase. A year today, and that was a Grade 2 in heavy ground, before being off for 10 months. Now, he ran in a race at Bangor, which I think is going to prove to be an absolute goldmine to follow. It already is. It was over 3 miles. It was in November. I've already tipped you a horse from that race, who ran just the other day down at Sandown, the horse of Nick Williams that came 5th. He would have been better going left-handed, but this race has absolutely worked out well, because not what's it called? Not Another Chance, I think it's called, went on to win the Classic Chase. Now, that horse of Alan King's actually won this race at Bangor, but bear with me. Also in that race was the Two Amigos, who came 3rd, and he's gone on to finish 2nd in the Welsh National. Now, Acting Lass, if you get a chance to watch this video, it reminds me very much of what happened to York Hill at Aintree in October. Here was this horse having its first run of the season, possibly not fully wound up, and he travelled absolutely beautifully, travelling on the bridle, going strongly, jumped the 4th last, 2 lengths off the pace, and then all of a sudden, boom, he stopped to nothing. Straight away, looking at the race, it had to be a breathing problem, and that indeed was reported. There was a breathing difficulty that the connections reported with the horse. He was pulled up before the 3rd last. Now, he's had a wind operation, which can make all the difference once the air is getting through to those lungs, and they've got the tongue tie on, and I think this horse could be a real proposition, as long as his breathing proves to be okay and improved by the wind operation. Now, very interestingly, the stats for him are that he's run 5 times at races between 2 miles 3 and 2 miles 6 furlongs. Remember, this is 2 miles 5. He's won 4 of those 5 races. He's raced on soft ground 7 times. He's won 4 of them and also run well in defeat. And significantly as well, and plenty of people overlook this when they're looking to back horses, because some horses are just better at other times of year than others. January is his time of year. In his career, he's run 3 times in January and won twice. So there's a lot going for this horse. Harry Fry's horses are going well. He's offered at 16 to 1 each way at the time of this recording for 4 places, with Bet Victor, Bet Fred and Bet Way. And I think he's going to run a massive race, assuming that the wind up has done the trick. So that is Acting Lass, who goes in the 3 o'clock at Ascot on Saturday, 16 to 1 each way. I think he's going to run a blinder. Now, our final selection for the weekend, remember we've got one for our ANTE-POST file to finish with, but we go to Ireland on Sunday. And as regular followers will know, I broadcast quite regularly on Irish racing, and I keep a close eye on things over there. And they're due to race on Sunday the 24th at Thurles, and the race that interests me is the 4 o'clock race there, which is a 2-mile handicap hurdle, and there are 11 runners. Now, because it isn't a major race meeting or a major race at that track, there are no early prices offered, so I'm guessing a bit as to what price the selection is going to be, but I'll come to that. Now, No Grey Areas is on a hat-trick. He's a horse in good form, trained by Martin Hassett. Been really quite impressive in his last 2 wins. Flint was a winner at Fairyhouse, but he's gone up £4. And there's also a one called Shaky Try, who won at Tremor, but has gone up £8. There are quite a few others with chances in a competitive heat, but the horse I like here is a mare. She's called Strange Notions, a 7-year-old mare, and she's trained by Charles O'Brien, the son, of course, of the great Vincent O'Brien, and is the mount of Sean O'Keefe. Now, Charles O'Brien, much better known as a trainer on the flat. He's had a lot of success over the years in his own right, plenty of group winners along the way, but he keeps dabbling with just the 1 or 2 over fences and hurdles. And Strange Notions, I think, is a mare that he's expecting to win races with this season. She did really well last season in 4 outings over timber. In her first 2 races, she finished twice in 2nd place at Fairyhouse in a novice hurdle and in a maiden. And then first time in a handicap, she ran in a €59,000 contest, and that was in February of 2020. She was 5th of 27 to Gordon Elliott's Black Tears, and that is very, very good form. and she went on to stamp that by winning over this course and distance at Thurles in March, where she showed a great attitude, looking beat and then getting back up in the last stride. Now she's been off for 9 months before reappearing on the 20th of December, so was entitled to come on for the run, but actually was running really well. She was only 3 lengths down coming to the last, and she was staying on in 4th place when she jumped the flight but just stumbled on landing and keeled over. So that was her race gone, finished at the last. But she had a very soft fall, and she's back for more. She's running off the same mark, and I think everything is there to see Strange Notions run a very big race at Thurles on Sunday. The odds on offer, well, with a number of last time out winners in the race and the fact that she'll have the letter F next to her name, I think she's going to be an each way price, and I'm suggesting that she's going to be about 7 to 1. She may well turn out to be bigger if people ignore the way she ran so well until falling at the last time. So remember, as ever, place your bet with a bookmaker who's going to offer you the SP if it proves to be bigger than the price you take. So that is Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock at Thurles, Strange Notions for Charles O'Brien and Sean O'Keefe. And finally, onto the ANTE-POST file. Well, last week we tipped you one for the Triumph Hurdle at the Cheltenham Festival, and this time, once again, it's a horse from Ireland that I'm tipping, and it's a horse that has been very much in the news. It's a horse that did me a favour this week, having had a couple of horses beaten that I was fancying to run well at prices, and the horse is called The Real Deal, and he really is. He's trained by Ronan McNally, and he was the horse that was the subject of a massive gamble earlier in the season. In his previous races, he'd gone off at no less than 100 to 1 each start, and then all of a sudden he was back from 20 to 1 to 6 to 4 in a handicap hurdle, and he bolted up. So there was a steward's inquiry, there was a big inquiry about it all, a real hoo-ha, and that was off a mark of 84. He then went on to win 2 races on the flat off 45 and 51, and then he won 2 more races over hurdles, the last of them off a mark I think of 111, before he was reassessed, having absolutely bolted up, and reassessed off a mark of 141. And earlier in the week, Ronan McNally ran him in the Grade 2 Moscow Flyer Novice Hurdle. He was due to have run the previous weekend, but he had a stone bruise on his foot and didn't run, and possibly because of that he drifted out from 9 to 1 to 22 to 1. Now, as I mentioned last week when we tipped Mint Condition, I think there's a bit of prejudice against horses who are showing very good form in handicaps and then move into graded company. I think people overlook them and don't take the handicap form so seriously. So I decided to step in despite the market drift, and I played on The Real Deal earlier in the week. And to be honest, even 2 from home, I thought I'd done my money because he was last, about 10-12 lengths off the pace, not really going anywhere. And then all of a sudden, as they met the rising ground, to my delight, he started to pick up as the horses in front. And remember, this is a Grade 2 race with good horses. They were beginning to flounder. And he was given a great ride by Dennis O'Regan and came flying by to win going away. So off a mark of 141 in a Grade 2, he beat horses that were highly rated, and he beat them senseless. Now, a lot of people will say he was flattered because the race might have fallen apart because they went a strong gallop. But I think the horse has got so much ability, and Connection said afterwards that he wasn't spot on. Indeed, they probably didn't have their money on. The market saw him drift 9 to 22 because he'd missed a bit of work. Now, he is going to go to the Cheltenham Festival, and they do have him entered in a couple of races. He's in the 2 mile 5 furlong Ballymore Novices Hurdle. If it's soft ground, that might be testing his stamina. I also think he's going to have too much weight for something like the Coral Cup because he's going to be in the 150s. And so I am assuming that the Supreme Novices Hurdle is the way he's going to go. Indeed, Ronan McNally suggested that will probably be the case. And at the time of this recording, you can bet him 20 to 1 each way. Now, there are going to be plenty of horses with far less exposed form, you might say, from big yards. But I'm promising you one thing. If this horse, with what he has done of late, was trained by a Willie Mullins or a Gordon Elliott or a Nicky Henderson or a Paul Nicholls, he'd be about 6 to 1. And so therefore I think he's 20 to 1 each way value. Let's hope he takes his chance. I've had a bid on each way in the Anti-Post, and if he goes and wins again before Cheltenham, he's going to be single figures for sure. So the value, I think, real deal in the Supreme Novices Hurdle, and that is at Cheltenham on the 16th of March. So that's my final recommendation this weekend. I hope you've taken note of those selections. Feel free to make your views made on what you fancy as well for this weekend in the comments section underneath this video, and I look forward hopefully to these horses running well and showing us a profit, but more importantly to you joining us next weekend. So from me, Paul Alster, for now, take care, enjoy this weekend, stay well and stay healthy. Bye bye for now.